Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I have another fascinating guest with me back today. This is the second time she's been on my show. I have with me Melanie Aguirre of the Quantum Disclosure Project. When I look at her Instagram, she does a lot of things. She's an author, researcher, hypnotist, ordained minister, death doula, funeral officiant, shaman, trance medium, channel, Reiki master, artist, and musician. And her book is currently in a process for being awards with the Quantum and Conscious Life Expo. And it's her book's called Quantum Disclosure Project: Revelations to Evolutions, and that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm really excited about it. And Melanie, thanks for coming back on the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back. It's good to be back and to speak with you and your guests and talk about this new book that I'm so excited about.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Conscious Life Expo thing. It says that you get into Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, and extraterrestrial ancestors, religion, hidden Sphinx, Native Americans, the Alexandria Library, Akashic Records, and much more. Where do you want to start with this? This is amazing.
Yes, very good place to start. So, um, if you haven't caught my first book, that's Revelations 1, the beginning. So that talks about a wide spectrum of beginnings of different things in our universe, with Earth or how the dinosaurs were created or even Jesus. This book, it talks about the evolution of things. And so, um, right after the beginning comes our evolution. So we talk about our human evolution, the soul's evolution. What is that Alexandrian library, or what is the Akashic records? We all know what it is and how we can access and what we can get from that. It's like a filing cabinet on our universe, but what is it really? And so we also look at ancient different sites such as Göbekli Tepe and Stonehenge to figure out what happened in those places. We do know that they are a portal, but what do they connect to and how do they activate us? And with Göbekli Tepe, that was a really great session and transcript, because we learn that we are our own ancestors. We are the ones who built that sacred site to remind ourselves going forward as we evolve that we cannot forget our roots and who we are and why we're here. And so we, it can step on and exercise other people's beliefs, such as religion, because we do look at religion and how and where that stemmed from. And, we dip into Egypt. And so we look at, there's a hidden Sphinx that Egyptologists, they do know, they are aware, they're just not sharing that with us. But we look at that site, why it's important, and how they used to utilize that space for ceremony. And it's neat because within this book, it doesn't come from me. It's all through hypnosis regressions. So there are clients and participants. Some are local and some are remote. So some are even in different countries and different states. And so it's neat because we get those different perspectives from different individuals. And so it's neat to compile it together and organize it in a way. And I hope I organized it in a way that we could understand, from the top and the beginning of our evolution down to where we are now. And there's a lot of great messages in there about just self-love and forgiveness, and to embrace each other and to be in the present moment. So it's not just very preachy, and there is education and wisdom in there, but a lot of it is very heartfelt, and to remind ourselves why we're here. And I think the most fascinating part about the book is that we look at different ET species or beings, such as the Lyrans, reptilians, Dracos, praying mantis, Syrians, and we look at who they are and how they evolved and how they help Earth, and how, what is that correlation with Earth that they have or with us now. And if people are familiar with star seeds, we are the ones that came from those other places. And we came to either volunteer or participate in this great grand awakening that we're going through now. And so there are messages for those star seeds to help remember and to help activate our memories and our purpose. And so it's really, it's full of it's really, really cool because it's full of education, and there's also information about who we are as beings. And so that can bring forth a lot of healing in the moment in time now. So
I was going to say, I think this is genius what you did because, somebody told me a while back, they said you should take like, all the information you're getting from your podcast and like put it in a book. And, they said like each guest, like, like pick out the best guest. But like what you kind of did with this was like, you used your information that you were getting from the hypnosis sessions and put it into a book. And it's amazing because it's like all the stuff that we want to know about, right? Like it's like extraterrestrial ancestors, like the our hidden history, like it's amazing. Like let me ask you this: did similar people, or not similar people, did people have similar conclusions on things? Like I think that would be neat. Like if you like, did you find that like you would do a session on this person and then another person and they would have similar conclusions on stuff, which would give you like a confirmation?
yes, definitely. And one of those things that came through confirmation is that we have the ability to go back and change the past through our Akashic records as we access things. And so I thought it was very interesting that one person said it, but then when a second person said it, I was like, oh, okay, well, there's something there. Then a third person said it. And so it's in the book 3 separate times, and we do touch base a little bit on what that is. But for the Akashic records and the, karma and reincarnation, that's also in the book. And so we look at that cycle of the soul and what is karma really. A lot of people have a negative uh, outlook on it, and we can use it, well, karma on you, but we learned that it's just another cycle, it's just another ripple in the ocean that we create and how that comes back. And so we, in the next book that I'm working on, we do talk a little bit more about the soul's evolution of, life and death. But with this book, it was neat because I didn't ask specifically to go to certain places. And I really asked just for guidance. What do we need to see? What do we need to learn about our evolution? What's been hidden from us? What's important to know now, because we are in that time of not just disclosure, but you are in a time of remembrance. And that's what's mostly important, is that we're here to remember who we are, because we can disclose all day, but it's really up to those that either have that knowing and it's true, or those people that are still on that fence. And those people that are on the fence, maybe they just need that a little bit of push of, well, why am I here? If this is what I'm hearing around me, how does it resonate with me and my soul? And so with the book, it's interesting because we find those ET species beings, like Dracos, we pull forth that information that they're not all negative and that there is positivity to them. And, even with the evolution of Earth and how those beings were trying to create life on Earth, you know, they tried to give information to ants, well, that didn't get very far. So now they had to find another type of species to create, and to with that DNA, right? So they chose the reptilians as one of the first beings to create that human. And that's why we have that battle within ourself, is, you know, that animal mind that's so 3D, and we limit ourselves. And then we have our spiritual mind, our ET mind, that is very soulful and part of the universe, and trusts and embraces what we don't know, because as humans we feel a lot of fear, and that's our inner struggle. But it is really interesting when people can come together with similar information. Did have about 2 or 3 different people go to the Akashic Library, the Alexandrian Library, or the Akashic Records, as we call it. And so we do talk to beings there, and we look at the books. There was a book that we pulled from the shelf, and it was the Book of Grace that was written by Jesus. And that really just talks about the teachings of Jesus, and, how we can live and forgive and self-love and live by that grace. And so a little bit of that is in there as well. And
That's
it's really,
fascinating. This is I mean, what I wanted to ask you about was I wanted to ask you about this, like, when, because I've done like seven, I don't know, I did like five to seven QHHT sessions. Like, I've had them done on me. I mean, I don't do them myself, like, people put me under, and like, I was always like a little bit, I'm not skeptical of it. I'm a believer in it, but I was like skeptical. I was like, is this stuff that I'm getting real? Because it seems so, like, for me, you know what I mean? But like, I'm like the type of person, like, I want to believe. So I think it is real. But one of the conclusions or one of the things I was asking was, I was wondering, like, when we go under, or do you think that we're pulling from the Akashic field, or are we pulling from our individual field? And then how can we tell the difference? You know what I mean? Or is it just a knowing that we have that?
yes, all of the above. We're pulling from our soul's existence and knowledge and wisdom and everything that we've carried on from lifetime to lifetime. And when we tap into our higher self and connect with our higher self on that level, on a deeper level, and it is a state of trance. And so when you go under what we would call, or under hypnosis, you're really just going into an altered state of being and state of mind and meditation, because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And so if you can go to YouTube and find a guided meditation and listen to someone, that's hypnosis, that's self-hypnosis. And so if you can trust yourself to access your own records and trust what you're getting at home in your own state of awareness and meditation, then it's the same thing as, letting someone take over the wheel of your vehicle. And when I take someone under regression, I like to share, well, it's kind of like sitting in the backseat of your own car. Someone else is driving, and then someone else might be talking, which might be the ETs that we might be talking with, or other ancient souls with wisdom. It really is just about trusting the process and allowing that to come through. Because the left side of our brain is that reptilian brain. It's what wants to keep us in the box. And it's what Dolores Cannon would call Mr. Stupid, because
Mhm.
that's where we analyze, am I making this up? Is this real? Did that just happen? Because we will hear things that, like, I keep hearing this, but if we don't address that, then it's just going to keep popping up. And that is our outside self or higher self, or guidance from our team, our spirit guides or angels or ancestors that might be trying to guide us and show us that information. It's just like going into a room blindfolded. You really have to trust that you're going to be guided and shown what is presented to you. And when we start hesitating, that's when things can become limited. And if we just follow through, just like watching a movie that we've never seen the trailer to, or we sit down and watch a series we've never even heard of, if we just trust the storyline, we eventually learn who the characters are and why they were put into that situation and how to address that. And I think that's mainly important, is because it will come to you and you don't know why you're being shown that. It's like, but in the end, it all makes sense. In the very end, it's like, oh, this is the story, this is the character, this is their lesson. And so I think trust is the most important thing. And discernment is also important. And I know that if someone reads the book not everybody might believe everything in there, but it is another perspective to share that someone will resonate with, for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. One thing I was going to tell you, I thought this was so interesting was because this kind of has to do with like hypnosis and like hypnotic states and like altered states. And so what happened was, this has happened like multiple times. So like I use affirmations, like when I like if I decide I'm going to take a nap or something, like I'll put on like a 30-minute affirmation video. And the one I've been listening to recently is about like having more money and having more having more abundance, right? So like I'll like put it on and I'll put it in my headphones and I'll lay down. And then it's so interesting. Like I'll wake up right at the exact moment that 30-minute affirmation ends. Like my body knows that like it's so weird. Like I like literally right as it ends and another video is about to come on, I wake up every single time. Like so it's almost like my body knows to I'm going to ask you about this. It's like, does our body know that like our subconscious is telling us that like we're going to go for 30 minutes and do these affirmations and then like our higher self wakes us up or something? Or like do you find that strange, or do you find that like right on par with the way the mind work and all this subconscious and stuff works? And does that make even any sense there? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And, for me, that happens. I'll tell myself, I want to wake up at 6 o'clock tomorrow, or I want to wake up at 6:30. It's just a higher connection that we would have with our higher selves. But if you're not setting that intention purposely, then you also have to keep in mind we're always listening. Our higher selves are always listening, even though our bodies might shut down and go to like that sleep state, which is basically theta. Because that's where you would go, and that's where you're most receptive. And even for psychic mediums, that theta state of mind, that is where we, I guess, would say pick up that traffic channel. If there's different spirits around, we can always pick up channeling there. But I think for everybody it's different, and I've listened to videos, I would say at least over 10, 15 years, at least 10 years ago, I would listen to Bashar and I would just fall asleep, pass out. I don't know what it is that causes the mind to just become sleepy and aware. It might be the information that's coming through, just like downloads. If we go through evolution, we get these downloads. Everybody's different. They could be solar flares, depending on how sensitive you are, but they're activating and they're clearing your mind, they're clearing your body, they're clearing those blockages. And so if your system is energetically being active in that way, um, your conscious self just might not have no other choice but just to step out of the body for that moment to allow that process to happen. That's my opinion and outtake on it, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna also say I think it's like something like my higher self is knowing, because I am a notoriously like negative person, or I tend to have like negative thinking, and the ego is always stepping in like in my life. That's what it seems like. It seems like like I'm always thinking something bad's gonna happen or something like that. So like it's almost like I need those affirmations or positive affirmations, and it like resets my programming, if that makes any sense. And what I was going to say was, to follow up on that, is like, can hypnosis do that for us like permanently? Do you think like hypnosis can, if we do like multiple sessions of hypnosis, it can retrain the brain so our thought patterns might be a little bit different?
Yes, definitely. And for example, when I was working with a participant with this second book, that person had, well, we didn't specifically target anxiety or panic or anything. We were just kind of curious about evolution. And so as time went on, this person reached out to me and said, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, because my anxiety levels are down. They're living more in the moment, in the present moment, and they're realizing that all these little things, they don't really mean anything. We allow these simple things to frustrate us, and that's what we stumble upon each day. But once we really acknowledge and have that insight and wisdom about who we are, how permanent this really is, that human evolution, it really makes it seem like Earth is just a fun game. And it really is. And it's kind of silly in a way, but then we catch that back around to the reptilian mind. And that's where that aggression and, living in the box, where that can, the ego, anger, resentment, all of those lower vibrational energies. And when we use hypnosis, say you wanted to go into hypnosis and target your anxiety, well, we would kind of figure out, where did that start? Where did that begin? Was it this life or another lifetime? And then we would look at what caused that anxiety. And then I would, kind of take you and look at, well, do you even need that anxiety? Where is it in your body? Okay, it's in your mind. Okay, or it's in your hands. Why is it there? And then so we would give you that opportunity to address it and to let go of it. And it's just like taking out the trash. If you got a bag of the trash and you're like, oh, that's just frustrating me. Well, you can take it out anytime. You don't need to leave it there. And so that's what's neat, is that we look at our own records, our own Akashic library, and without judgment, without ego, and we can embrace those situations of what happened to us, because we carry those from lifetime to lifetime, and it's within our cellular memory that it's held until we address it or let it go. And so the people who accumulate cancer, that's, depending on where the cancer is at in their body, it could be in the lungs or breast cancer. That would be a lot of grief and anger, resentment. And so it really does depend on the person and what's going on with them, because we can have lifetimes of stuff, of programming, even from childhood. We can have programming from our parents or the people that surround us. If someone says, oh, you can't do that, well, we don't realize what that little comment just did. It could have shut down that programming, that you, Rob, can make money, but you can make all the money you want. And that's what you have to hear and have to clear within your own state of mind and sense of being. And then once we do that, then we can realign with your own purpose and how to create that abundance.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And one thing that you mentioned that I also will touch on, I thought was interesting, was so I went through a bad breakup. Like it's been this year, like it was basically the beginning of this year. And like what happened was, it showed me how much the energy body and the emotions are tied into like physical pain. Because what happened was, like before the breakup, I was fine, and then I had the breakup, and then I'm learning all this now, right? So I started like manifesting this like weird pain in my like liver area, like lower abdominal, like stomach area, right? And like I was like I was like honestly concerned. I was like, what the hell's going on? So I went to a doctor. I had like blood work done like multiple times. Like I had like CT scans done. And I'm kind of against mainstream medical, like, but I still did it because I was worried. I was like, well, what are the choices? Like if I have cancer or something, like I need to know, right? So like it was like, so I went to these doctors and I was like trying to figure out what was going on with me. I even did the test where they put the camera over your organs. They didn't find anything on all this. So, then people started telling me, they're like, you're probably holding anger in your liver. And that's like manifesting, that emotions manifesting. Like, so it's like how the energy body and the emotions will like trigger the physical body. And it took me a while to actually learn that. But like we can also heal stuff like that through hypnosis as well, correct? I mean, because you're an example of it. You healed something physical with and if you want to talk about that as well, you know.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Whenever we don't, it just when we do hold on to that anger, it can manifest in the liver. And so that was probably you just not allowing that anger to filter out naturally or normally. You're wanting to hold it in. For me, I was T-boned in a car accident and I had become permanently disabled from the waist down, and I had handicap placards. And for me, I just couldn't understand that diagnosis of, oh, well, you're permanently disabled now and you're going to live the rest of your life this way. And I just could not wrap around, what do you mean? I'm at the time I was 29, and I'm not going to lie, I did ask the universe. I told the universe, I'm not happy with my path and I want a different path. I don't like my car. I don't like my job. So time went on and they sent me the messages because I was looking for other work that would satisfy me. And that was mostly natural healing, but I couldn't find anything that was, like, oh, that's it. That's the one. That's what I want to do. So as time went on, I thought it was very funny because there were different people in my life that told me you should be a hypnotherapist. And I told them, I said, well, you're crazy. I don't believe in that stuff. And after about 2.5 years, I surrendered and I said, universe, I really just want to know why I'm here. I had other life things, challenges taking place and going on. And so I really wanted to know, why am I here? This doesn't make sense. My life seems like it was falling apart. And so when I surrendered, I allowed the universe to just present something to me. And that's when I found the quantum healing hypnosis technique by Dolores Cannon on YouTube. And I saw somebody putting someone else under hypnosis, and he was talking about the new earth. And for me, I didn't know what she was doing, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I discovered later on that it had, uh, the power to assist you to heal yourself. And so that's when I looked into it further and I found a practitioner in my area. And my main questions were, what is my path, purpose, and why did I get in this car accident? And it really clarified a lot. It showed me the truth of why I'm here and what I am to do here. And they did say she was supposed to be a hypnotherapist and not a massage therapist. And so from then, in that moment, my body healed and corrected itself. And what was going on in my body was I had permanent nerve damage from the waist down to my toes on both legs. And that was starting to go up my back. So at that point, it I was in bed. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't drive. I couldn't work. And so it was really, really, really painful. And I had to just surrender to the answers. And I think surrendering is a big part of it, because when you surrender, you're paying attention and you're listening. And that's where we can find our own power, is when we just surrender and trust, because that's all we have is trust. And so for me, it was very life-changing. And since then, I've been doing hypnosis for 5 years now. And I I wouldn't want to do anything else. I love hypnosis and what's possible, because for example, with this next book that I'm working on, actually there's a few I'm working on at once, but one of the ones is about transitions and the soul, and how souls can get stuck, and how when we grieve, we're really holding on to these souls so that they can't go to the light. And so one of the things we're looking at is to talk to those souls who are stuck and to see what type of roles that they're taking on now, um, here on this plane, and how they assist us.
That's fascinating. One thing I wanted to, it's amazing how you were able to heal yourself with hypnosis. It really makes me a believer in the QHHT. I love it as well. Like I know, from me being in this business, like I know a lot of people who do QHHT, and like everybody that does it has like amazing results. Like it seems like it's like the new modality. It's a new modality of healing that, like, like it seems like also it seems like I think Dolores Cannon was right when she talked about the three waves of volunteers. Like I would say that you and I would be like the second wave, and then there's like, maybe kids a generation under us that would be like the third wave. But do you believe that as well? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like how she talked about the three waves of volunteers that had come to like change the earth and stuff like that.
Yes, yes, I do believe in the three waves of volunteers, and I fully believe that there's more waves of volunteers coming in. For example, about 2 years ago, I had a client that came in for a session, and she was just curious about her path and purpose, and she had read Dolores Cannon, and so she was already familiar with what was possible. And so for her, it was revealed that she had already incarnated so much on earth that her time was up, right? There's only so much a soul can take before it really gets exhausted. And so for her, this was her last time on earth, but it was predicted that she would have a baby come in, and that baby was basically, we do this tag on wrestling, he's coming in and she's going out, and they come from the same place. And so it's about continuing that work. And so I really fully believe that those souls are still coming in, um, at a high rate pace. And so I think that's why we have such an accumulation of souls here. I think there's a lot of souls here that are from other realms and planets and galaxies that are here for that reason, to help with that ascension process, and to be more authentic, and to embrace who we are, and to love and forgive, and to be examples, and to create those safe spaces for people who are struggling. And so there are people everywhere. And I know that all together we do create this light grid and this conscious grid. And that's what's mainly important too, is that we might feel that we're alone, and we might feel that we're separate, but really we are all connected. And the more that we know that, and can embrace that, and can acknowledge that, then we can build our field a little bit more stronger. And that's how we can help other people as well, just by speaking our truth, speaking our experiences, and sharing those, even if we don't understand them, sharing our experiences with extraterrestrials, or dreams, or premonitions, or different psychic abilities. All of that is so important to the human evolution. And we're in that time now where it's safe to talk about it. It's safe to come out with it, and it's safe to share, because you will find other people that are within your tribe, that we would call. And so it's just about embracing yourself and that authenticity, and not being scared to put that out there. I know that that can be troublesome too, is that some people can get backlash, or called crazy, or um, you know, told not to believe that stuff. But I think it does start with us. It does start with us, and that's how we can embrace that.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of souls are coming in from Egypt? Because one thing I noticed is like that a lot of people that I've a lot of people that I've saw or that I have been around that do QHHT, like they when they regress a lot of people, they go to Egypt. For example, like my friend Maya does it, and she was, she regressed me. I went back to Egypt. My ex went back to Egypt. Maya went back to Egypt. Like then I know that you and Trina were doing regressions, and she was Akhenaten, and you guys do the conversations with Akhenaten. So it makes me think that maybe a lot of people like were living in Egypt at one point and now, or ancient Egypt, I should say, ancient Egypt, and now we came back and incarnated in this life. What do you think about that? Does that resonate with you at all?
Oh, yes, definitely. And so even the first time I had regressed, for my very first time, I went back as Anubis. And so now I've embraced that Anubis is my counterpart. So I can choose to channel Anubis, and that is quite interesting how souls are coming in now from Egypt, and whether they're fractal souls or not, because keep in mind, we can always split off into multiple souls and multiple beings. But you are right, a lot of souls are coming back from Egypt, and what we're doing is we're remembering who we are, right? We're bringing back that time to now, because you can look at a cycle and those cycles kind of repeat in themselves until something changes. And again, we are in this time of awakening and awareness. And the more that we can, bring that remembrance to people with our souls, the more that we can change history. Right now is history. We don't really realize that, but this present moment is eventually going to be our past. And the way that we move forward with ourselves is going to be what affects and domino affects our beings around us, right? Just like that drop in the water. We have to affect one another and help one another and raise one another. And I have seen other beings from Egypt come through regression. I've regressed people that were Hathor and Isis, Osiris, Akhenaten, of course. But I've also seen other beings that have the ability to channel Akhenaten and that essence of Akhenaten. And that's why I was saying that our souls can split off. And even as Anubis, I'm pretty sure there's people out there who can channel Anubis, and I can't deny that connection, just like I can't deny that connection with myself. But we are here in this moment to bring back that truth that was once lost and hidden from Egypt as well. And that's another book that I'm working on, is that I'm compiling these regressions from beings who've had past life experiences in Egypt. And, what was their story? What was their role? What was their purpose? And what was importance? What was hidden? Because that is what creates that story for us, for all of us to remember. And we all have that piece, we all have the piece to the story. And once you put it together, that's when we see the bigger picture.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about before we finish up was the when in the new book, I'm going to go back to the new book, you get into extraterrestrial ancestors. Like I don't want you to give too much away, but I just wanted to ask about that. Like what were you guys able to come up with? Like, I mean, is the story of the Anunnaki like pretty much like, is that kind of what people were coming up with, or were we seeded by like 24 ET races? Some people say that, there's a lot of different things people say as far as like, what, so I was trying to see like what you guys kind of came up with, what answers you got for that.
Sure. So for that, what kept coming up is that the human souls were seeded by different ET beings. So not just one race, there were multiple races, and the reason for that would be an experiment. And the reason for that experiment is because there's so many beings out there that have conflict. They wanted to see how we can live as a race within one DNA strand of structure, right? So they created this human, and they're still trying to create this perfect human, to their what they think is perfect, that's full of unconditional love and no hatred. And for them, they used Earth amongst other planets, but Earth is one of the planets that they use that was very successful because we have all the elements here, and even the nature animals, our nature spirits, those are also brought from another time and place. And so we're still observed, we're still being cared for, we're still being monitored, but we look at the perspective of praying mantis, for example. There was someone who had been an ET junior being, and they were in training. And so they were discussing how they assist humans, from the beginning of that evolution, and how they assist us still. And they even give warnings within the book as well. And so, if we're not listening and paying attention, we're just going to destroy ourselves going forward. And they have this agreement, with the Galactic Council as well, that they cannot interfere with us physically. And so that's also why they send their spirit beings through us in a human body. If there might be humans that identify with being a human hybrid, well, that's more than likely a soul that has come from that specific place. It could be X, Y, or Z, Mantis or Lyran or Pleiadian, Arcturian, Draconian, whatever, wherever they're from, they're coming in through the back door. And that's how we help our human collective now, and it's just weaseling in through that soul's body to help each other. But yes, we are here and planted by other beings that have made that mutual agreement. And I think the more that we can just kind of open and expand our minds to that, there wouldn't be so much hatred or judgment. And that's why we are different. Everyone's different. You're not going to find two people that are the same. And if you are, you're probably the same soul family, because we do resonate as well on that level.
Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. I was going to ask you, is there anything else you want to share that we might have not covered that you like, or yeah.
Sure. So my book is on the Conscious Life Expo Book Awards. You can go to their website and vote. I also have an event coming up in February that's at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, California. That's going to be February 9th at 2 p.m. And it's going to be a workshop. I'm going to be channeling Anubis. It's going to be the essence of Anubis with readings and healings. And I'll have golden ankh necklaces to give away for people there. And I have a website you can check out. It's www.quantumdisclosureproject.com. And you can find events, episodes, because I do share my hypnosis regression episodes on YouTube. So you'll also find my YouTube channel, and the Stonehenge transcript that's in the book, that's also on YouTube. So if you want to listen to the actual recording, that's there as well. So there's different things out there for people. And if anybody's interested in becoming a participant or volunteering for research, they can always reach out anytime as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, and I'll send you a link when I upload it. And thank you. And good luck. I hope your book wins the award. And I'll put that link in the video too, so people can check that out.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. And the next books that are coming up are going to be fascinating as well. So, we'll always come back together and talk again.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Melanie. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Take